there's more nerve cells in your head than there are ants on the planet. That's how abundant they are. So when I talk about human systems, we're talking about the most highly organized, complex biological systems on this planet. We can't compete. We should consider each other sacred, not be blowing each other up in marketplaces. But this downregulation of neurotransmission, you can also downregulate an inhibitory neurotransmitter that will turn something on. We're very, very complex. But the way THC does it is again backwards from the classic, because the receptor, this is a dopamine neuron that secretes dopamine across a nerve gap junction and binds to the receptor on the other side. The dopamine is built up in the nerve axon and then bled out and travels across the junction and binds the receptor on the other side. The receptor for THC is on that secretory side of the nerve junction, which is the reverse of the classical. The receptor, the endocannabinoids are manufactured on the same side of the neuron, bind the receptor, and then tell that nerve cell what to do. And often it'll slow down the secretion of a neurotransmitter. In the case of dopamine in the basal ganglia, it depends on the part of the brain you're at what'll be turned on and turned off, but there was an interesting study. I can't see my notes, but it won't work. What the hell was it? It could have been U of T again, and the guy's name was, I would have had to apologize for pronouncing it, but they were running brain scans on a woman with schizophrenia, and during an intermission in her scanning, she went out and had a joint, and nobody knew, and she came back and there was dramatic changes in her brain scan and a 25% increase in dopamine activity. And then they questioned her and found out that she had smoked a joint. That increase in dopamine activity is important for many reasons, one of them being Parkinson's disease, where there's a deficiency in dopamine. I gave a lecture at the Parkinson's Society of BC last week, and it was a little odd lecturing there because when I went through our membership data, we have very few people with Parkinson's. We only have 2 out of 4,000. And I don't know why, because cannabis is known to reduce tremor, muscle relaxant, increases dopamine, but we don't see a lot of Parkinson's members amongst ours, and I'm not sure why. It's interesting.
Makes you calm, man.
Huh?
Makes you calm.
Should I get the next slide? Yeah, phytotherapy.
Haven't there been some studies about cannabis actually helping to prevent Parkinson's, which is why pot smokers rarely get it, and that those who do are ones that have very little cannabinoid intake?
There's not a lot, like for most scientific data on cannabis, it hasn't been, particularly natural cannabis, it hasn't been done, but there was an interesting study out of Czechoslovakia where they interviewed 600 people, 300 responded for fear of the law, but the 300 that responded, 25% were using cannabis for Parkinson's. They found decreases in all Parkinsonian symptoms, particularly after 1.7 months of use was when it started to kick in, is what that study found. Who knows?
Was that smoking it or eating it?
Smoking it. Now, we got a plant like cannabis with this profound efficacy, and what I've done with my career, I was trained on instruments like this. This is a gas chromatograph mass spectrometer. The GC is on the right and the mass spec is that box on the left, and the thing on the top is the sample tray that spins it around, puts different samples. This is not the instrument I have in my lab right now. Right now I have an HPLC, which is high pressure liquid chromatograph. This one works molecules in the gaseous state. The instrument I use runs at room temperature in the liquid state. This instrument is the highest on my priority list right now. Buy me one, send me one, drum up money, get one.
And he'll move here.
And I will. I've run one of these for 9 years, and you can't make medicine with this instrument, but you can identify and quantify virtually every molecule known to man. Combined with a liquid chromatograph, you've got everything you need for cannabinoid analysis. I have run these instruments for a long time. HPLC I began running 5 years after it was invented in the early 70s, and I've been running it ever since. I sit behind a Hewlett Packard. I got their underwear on. I love the instruments. I also own two 1983 5-cylinder, three actually, 5-cylinder diesels made by Mercedes-Benz, which is the best motor they ever built. It will run forever, as my HPLC will. It's obsolete now. I can't buy parts for it. I have to get them off the net. But anyway, I run high-tech instruments that can take apart and look at what plants are made of. If you're talking whole plant medicine, as I spout off about, and Lester Grinspoon, I don't know if you've heard of him, he's the godfather in the scientific movement around cannabis, a Harvard University medical professor that talks often about the benefits of cannabis, natural cannabis, the whole plant medicine. I use high-tech instruments to standardize, quantify, and take apart the witch's brew of a whole plant medicine. If you have 4,000 people and these kind of instruments, you can get an idea of what chemistry works for individuals. And you see it repeated time and time again, then you get repeated phenomena which